Hello everyone. My name is Ariana Blažić. I'm joining this call from Zagreb, Croatia on behalf of the EU Code Week team. If you don't know, I would like just to quickly introduce what EU Code Week is. It is a grassroots initiative, a grassroots movement run by volunteers, and it aims to bring basic programming skills and digital literacy to everybody in a fun and engaging way. Our community is huge. We have Code Week ambassadors, we have Code Week leading teachers, and also education ministry coordinators. And our aim is to help teachers bring coding, programming, and computational thinking and artificial intelligence to their classroom. In EU Code Week, everyone can participate. It's really for everyone, by everyone, children, pupils, students, young adults, parents, teachers, librarians, entrepreneurs, everybody who wants to learn about coding or teach coding in their schools. And we have, last year, we organized almost 80,000 activities. 4 million people participated in these activities from 79 countries. And one very important thing this year, as you can see on the screen, is our 10th anniversary. So I'm really, really happy to be able to be here and introduce you to this great activity on how to build your first app with Swift Playgrounds. So I would like to hand over to Veronique now from Apple Education. Just Veronique, hello.
Hello. I'm going to hand over to the educators who are the ones who are leading this session. So over to you. Thank you so much, Ariana.
Thank you,
Thank
Veronique.
you so much for having us, Ariana. It's great to celebrate Code Week with you and so many participants from all over the world, not just from Europe. As we can see, you've all dropped your cities or countries already in the chat. I will start off with introducing myself. My name is Suzanne Lustenhauer, and I am actually an English teacher based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. But the last couple of years, I started teaching code with my students as well, because we did not have a coding teacher or technically ICT trained person in our school. But we still thought it was very important that our students were learning these skills. And so with Apple's materials, everything is right there, as you will hopefully see in this session. So even a language teacher, even an English teacher like I am, is able to teach coding. So we have two presenters here with you today, and so I will be the teacher, hopefully be able to answer all of your teaching-based questions. And now Matt will introduce himself, and he'll be my my alter ego developer running the session.
Hopefully, it's not a Jekyll and Hyde thing. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Hanlon, longtime software developer. I worked for Apple for a long time in London and in Cupertino on a bunch of different things, from .Mac and iCards, if anybody remembers that, to Apple TV and iPhoto and Aperture. So loads of different things. And I left a few years ago to go teach kids and adults how to code. I thought I was very lucky to have the job I did, and it's such a great creative outlet to have that I really wanted to be able to help people learn how to code who maybe necessarily didn't realize that was a path open to them. So that's what I've been doing the last few years, and I've been lucky enough to keep working with folks like Suzanne and Veronique and a few other folks around the world, and that's why we do sessions like this. So this year, Apple kicked off Code Week with a message from Lisa Jackson that fits nicely with what we're going to do today. So let's hear from her.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Jackson, and I'm Apple's Vice President of Environment, Policy, and Social Initiatives. I'm honored to join you in celebrating the 10th year of Europe Code Week. Apple has been a proud supporter of Code Week over the years, working alongside the European Commission to help people across the continent learn this important skill. That's because education is in Apple's DNA. We see coding as a universal language, one with incredible potential to empower people and help them build a better world. It's why we advocate for coding to be taught in schools. It's why we created resources like Swift Playgrounds. And it's why we create opportunities for coders and entrepreneurs, including with the Apple Developer Academy in Naples. I've been fortunate to meet many of these students who are already creating apps that empower people to live full and independent lives, to connect with their neighbors, and to engage in local sustainability initiatives. They've demonstrated that coding can help you channel your creativity and solve problems in your community. We're so inspired by everyone using technology to build a better world. On behalf of everyone at Apple, I want to thank you for helping to celebrate 10 years of Europe Code Week. Happy coding!
All right. Now, with that, we have a quick poll to kind of get to know everybody here and just to understand where the session's going to go. So I'm going to open that up now. And we'll open that poll. Now, it says we'll take around 5 minutes. We'll probably take 3 or 4, depending how people are getting on. But you'll see the answers are the poll in the chat. And the questions are, do you have an iPad or Mac? The second question is, have you downloaded Playgrounds? That's the app that we're going to be using today. The third question is, have you updated it since the summer? And that would be summer 2022. I know the years have kind of run together the last few years. And then the last question is, have you ever done any coding before?
For those of you answering no on have you downloaded Playgrounds, I will just type in the links in the chat to follow the session or to code along with us. You need to have downloaded or you need to have access to Swift Playgrounds either on the iPad or on the Mac. Both will work. So if you haven't downloaded them yet, you have some time to do so now.
And I was going to ask if everyone can see the poll. If I see it at the right side of my screen, but give us a shout and write in the chat if you can't see it.
I know we've had 46 responses so far, which is pretty good.
That looks good.
Except I see 13 no answers for the coding question. You have to say something. Or are you just waiting until the session is over and then you'll be able to say yes, definitely?
Yes, tons.
All right, we'll give it about another minute just to let people get in their final answers. We're looking good. All right. So we had 9 who didn't start it. We'll close the poll. You'll have a few seconds to finish off your answers. So we'll close that poll. It's got about 12 seconds left. I won't start counting down to put the pressure on or anything. We're going to share those results with everyone in 4 seconds. All right, and we'll take a look at those in just a little bit. What we're going to do is give you a little introduction to Swift and what is Swift. What are we talking about today when we're creating an app? Build your first app with Swift Playgrounds. Well, Apple have created an open source programming language called Swift so that anyone with an idea can create something incredible. It was created with engineers and educators at the drawing board, making it a great tool for learning to code. Open source means that Apple has released the language to allow for community input and support. It's evolving and improving, and there's support for more platforms over time, which means that the concepts and skills that your students will learn won't be locked into one specific platform. Teaching code with Swift makes programming easier, more flexible, and more fun. For example, one of the first things you learn to code is Hello World. And as you can see from this Swift code sample, it's very clear and readable. Even with more complex lines of code, like this for loop, you can easily read and understand what it's going to do. Swift is simple and clear and reduces extraneous syntax and punctuation that could cause confusion or errors, especially for new programmers. When we teach people about coding or approach it ourselves, we can look at it from a variety of perspectives. There's considering how we're going to design our code, our apps, how people will interact with those apps. Then there are things like the fundamentals, the code that understands the core data your app cares about. Things like trash collected from a beach, or people attending a meeting, or interesting facts about our favorite place. Then there's the front end of code, what drives what people see when they use our app. This is the thing we're all familiar with from our own favorite apps, whether it's TikTok or Candy Crush or the music app. And there are so many resources for learning about these aspects of coding aimed at all levels. These are just the ones from Apple, all available for free, that run the gamut from primary school to vocational and higher education learners. Today, we're going to focus on Swift and Swift UI, exciting technologies that allow us to build apps right from our own iPads and Macs, and determine what people experience when they use our apps to solve whatever problems are near and dear to our hearts or highlight issues we care about. Now, Suzanne's going to take you through a few tasks we have to do to get set up for this coding we're going to do today.
Yep, that's right. So I will just share my screen. All right. So what we are going to do today is create an app that is all about your city. So these are the materials that you're going to need to follow along with us. You need to download a photo of your city. Maybe you already have one on your device. If not, go search on the internet for a pretty photo. And that kind of reflects the mood that you want to set for your app. So you need one photo of your city that you will put on your app. And then we're also going to add some interactivity to our app. We are going to put 3 fun facts about our city in there. And just to kind of show what this is going to look like, I'll just show you our kind of end results. Or if this was a cooking show, this will be like, here's one that we've created earlier. So feel free to just go off and multitask for a bit, where you download a photo of your city and think or search 3 fun facts about where you are. And then I will share what we're going to create. So this is the Playgrounds app that we are going to use. And on the right here, you can see the app that I've created, and that hopefully you'll have something similar in about an hour's time. So there's Amsterdam, and I've chosen a kind of sunsetty autumn vibe for this app. That's the mood I was in today. We have a little story about Amsterdam, some favorites, and there's our fun facts where they're going to be. So our fun facts are empty now, but when I press the button, magically a fun fact appears. Amsterdam is a city which is built on poles. The central station alone is standing on 9,000 wooden poles. There are 8 windmills still left in Amsterdam. If I look out the window, I actually see one of them. And because it's random, sometimes you get the same one in a row. So I just have to hit it another time. And Amsterdam has more canals than Venice and more bridges than Paris. All right. So I've already beaten you, Veronique, with more bridges than Paris. Is there anyone else from Venice in here in the chat that I can say I've beaten as well with my city facts? So that's what you're going to create. In about an hour's time, you'll learn how to do this. We can see some of the code on the left here. You don't have to worry about that just yet. We'll dive into that in a bit. Please let us know with the reactions. So I already saw some people doing some reactions while we were talking just now. But if you have your photo and your 3 facts, then please put a thumbs up in the reactions. The reactions have look like a little smiley face, and when you press on it, I see it at the bottom of my screen. When you press on it, you see some emojis. Okay, I see some thumbs up going. All right. Okay, lots of you have already found your way. Right. Excellent. Great to hear. Great to hear. So good. Now that you've found these reactions, please use it throughout the session. If at any point we are going too fast, use the turtle to tell us, okay, slow down, please. Or if we can speed it up a bit, give a reaction of the hair jumping. I already saw some of you doing that. That's great. That will give us a clue whether or not you are keeping up, if you're up to speed. If you have any specific questions at all throughout the next hour, feel free to use the chat. We'll also ask you to use the chat right now, actually, because I would love for you to type in the chat. So many of you already wrote where you are, but please write the name of your city and list 1, 2, or 3 of your favorite facts about your city. So I will share Amsterdam, and then my fact was Amsterdam is built on 9,000 poles. All right, so let's see some of your facts in the chat. Cologne, Abu Dhabi, great. Glasgow, UNESCO City of Music. Oh, that's interesting. Cool.
We have the
Thank
world's
you for your
oldest
time,
vine
Dublin
in one of
City.
the cities. Great.
Oh, nice. Yeah. The world's first zero carbon waste car free city. That's great in Abu Dhabi. That's excellent. Love to learn more about that. Oldest tram system of Germany. Nice. Peace Palace in The Hague. Yep. Hi, Jane. Good to see you again.
Oh, nice. In Almaty, you can see the mountains from the city streets. I like that. Very cool.
Yes. Yeah. Istanbul, straddling 2 continents, Asia and Europe. Excellent. All right.
Oh.
Working gas lamp still, even with these gas prices. Nice. Lima, historical castle. Nice. Apiga means open place. Cool.
Wow, longest
Longest
illuminated east slope in Europe. I
illuminated.
like that. I have to check that out.
Yeah. Learning so much already.
Got a bunch. I've got a list here running. Like, where are we going next? Where are we going to visit next?
Jakarta, the Dutch East Indies Heritage. Yep, we have a link there. All right, excellent. So if you've got your photo and you've got your facts, that's all you need. Now, well, not the only thing you need. The next thing you need is some coding knowledge, and that's what we're here for today. So what we're going to do is, please follow along with me. You are going to open up the Swift Playgrounds app, and it actually looks like this bird here. So it's an orange bird with a white background. If you open that up, you should see something like this, except yours could be empty. If you've never used the app before, yours will be completely empty. And I've been working in it a lot lately, so I have lots of things open here. So if you are in here, now what are all these things? So these are all little app projects that you can go in to learn more about Swift and Swift UI. How do you get these? So there's a bottom half here where it says more playgrounds, and then you can go into see all, and that's the way to get to the library. So here is all of our Swift and Swift UI content. So at the top, I mentioned all of the coding walkthroughs, explanations, activities are all provided by Apple, so that so that I, as an English teacher, can also teach coding. And this is what I meant by that. This is all of the materials that is available for you. Comes free with every iPad and every Mac. At the top here, you see the app gallery. So these are templates that you can use to manipulate and make your own thing out of it. So as an English teacher, I might actually use choose your own story in my English class, where I get my students to write their own English story as a choose your own story adventure. There's a bubble level, which might be interesting in physics class, the same as the seismometer for physics or a geography class. And if you really want to learn the core of the coding, then you start with Get Started with Code or Get Started with Apps. Remember, Matt showed you those builder hats. If you want to learn more about the backend development, then you work on Get Started with Code. If you want to learn more about the front-end development, then you start with Get Started with Apps, right? So it's a code is kind of how does it work? So that button that created some random effect would be the backend. The look of the button would be the front end, or thereabouts. Those of you who answered, I have done tons of code, might disagree with me, but that's how I explain it to my students. And then there are ways to extend your app. So if you want to do something with animations or grids, or you want to do something with photos, or how can I add different gestures in, how can I add different gestures to my app, then these are all kind of based just on that. Boris already mentioned this looks different in Mac Playgrounds. Yes, so for this session today, both Matt and I will be working on the iPad, and you are definitely able to follow along on the Mac. most of it should actually look exactly the same. What Boris is referring to is that the bubble level and the seismometer don't work on the Mac. That's because it actually uses the iPad sensors. So if I shake my iPad, there's sensors in there that tell me, okay, you're actually holding it upside down now, right? See, that's what's making this move. If you do that with your MacBook, nothing happens. So these don't work on the Mac because the MacBook doesn't have that sensor in there. And that's why some of it will look different on the iPad, but most of or everything that we're going to do today will work pretty similarly. Later, we'll get to a step where it works differently on the Mac, and we'll tell you if you're on the Mac, then do this step that way. All right, so I've explained to you the materials. Now let's download some. So what we're going to do is use this one, the About Me. So About Me is a template that we're going to do, but you might have already caught on. We're not actually going to do it about me, but it's going to be about, in my case, Amsterdam, or so in your case, it will be about your city. Okay, so if you are in here, tap Get, it will start downloading. And then once it's downloaded, you can tap on it and you'll see this. It will load for a while. Okay, so this is what I meant with a template. You can now see how did the Amsterdam one look and how did this one look. You'll recognize some things that were similar. And so this one is all gray and it just has some placeholder text all about and your name. So you kind of get a sense of what we're going to do to make this our own. Okay, now just to get you familiar in get you familiar in this app, you'll see the code on the left, and our app, our preview, is on the right. Could be that yours looks like this. There's a slider here that allows you to make it bigger or smaller. And this is all live code that we're seeing. This is interactive, and the code on the left makes our app on the right work. Okay. On the top right, you see this little rectangle, the stack of rectangles. That kind of toggles our preview screen. Next to that, we have a little stack of books. And that's where all the materials are. That's where all the content is that you and your students will go through, and that will teach you all about the code that you're going to learn. And so depending on what you want to learn, you can jump into different bits. But for now, I will let Matt take over because he's going to take us through our first activity. He's going to take us through the code. Again, if you have any questions while we're going through this, type your questions into the chat. Let us know if we're going too fast, if we are going too slow, and yeah, have fun coding. Over to you, Matt.
Thank you. Okay, so that was an excellent setup, right? We've downloaded our About Me app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go tap on it here in my own version of Swift Playgrounds. I've just downloaded it, as you can see from the new button. This is a follow along, so you can try to follow along as best you can. In fact, here I'm going to bring up the chat so we can kind of watch that while we're coding. And we're going to work through some of that walkthrough. This is one of the amazing things about these Swift Playground apps is that they do have a walkthrough that will take you through the code and help you learn how to read the code. So while we're kind of in these apps that are fully functional, we can go and tap on the different items down here in the tab bar, like any app you might be familiar with on your iPhone or your iPad. Just like the clock app, we've got a little tab bar that we can tap through, and we can show random facts that we're going to go play around with a little bit. But this is huge that we have a guided way to get through the code in these apps, so we can start to figure out, well, actually, my app fits into something like this. And in fact, our app about our city is going to fit really nicely in here. So I'm going to go back to that library icon up here, the books. And we can scroll through, as we saw with Suzanne. And we're going to start in the Home tab section. And we're going to start in this item here and customize the Home tab. So if you tap on that, that'll open up a new file over here. So we've got our code files over here. We've got the little sidebar disclosure button there that'll show and hide the files that are in our project. And it also shows us the walkthrough text at the top that'll help get us through a bit of coding here. All right, so quick thumbs up if you've gotten to the Customize the Home tab walkthrough, if you've got that up and ready to go. Cool, lots of thumbs up, that's good. Thumbs down if you don't, no shame in that. All right, so Anatoly's saying app preview
Matt?
doesn't work, and I see the empty
Yes.
screen on the right. Okay, so when
Could
you tap,
show?
you're right here, you're seeing
Yeah.
the empty screen right now?
I think, can you show maybe if you go on the word preview, if you tap, Matt, if you tap on the word preview, just, yeah, there, yeah.
Yep, we could try
There
restarting
you
the
can
preview.
restart. Yeah. Anatoly, are you already done? Okay. I would say
Already
maybe kill Swift Playground and start it again.
Sometimes you need to tickle it. There's a lot of kind of stuff going on underneath the hood. Very complicated stuff, but amazingly well done by the engineers at Apple. Sometimes you need to give it a kickstart, like you used to bang your television when you couldn't get reception. Now I'm using this is a probably 7-year-old iPad at this stage, so it might be a little bit slow as well. We might see some of the same issues on mine here. All right, so we got a lot of thumbs up. So we're going to start working through
Well done.
this customize the Home tab step. So does everyone have that photo handy on their iPad? Ideally, it's in your photos library. And this is where we're going to have a bit of a difference between the iPad and the Mac. So quick thumbs up if you have that photo in your photos library. All right, a few. Looking good. Now, if you don't, a very quick way to do that, if I hop out of here and I open up Safari, I searched for Sandy Cove a bit earlier. This is where I live in South Dublin. You can press and hold on these items, and I can say add to photos. So that's a nice quick way to get an image of your city. And then I'm going to go back to Swift Playgrounds. So if you have your photo inside your photo library, we're going to open the left sidebar. So we're going to go up here to that sidebar disclosure button. It's a mouthful. Open that up. And these are all the files in our app. The beautiful thing about Swift Playgrounds is this is real code. This is something that we could ship off to the App Store. In fact, we can from the new version of Swift Playgrounds and have it on the App Store for other people to download. So our next step is going to be to add a file. So we're going to go to this button up here with the file with a plus button on it, and we're going to insert a photo. So I'm going to tap on the photo item here, and it's going to let me select from my photo library. I have a couple of Sandy Cove that aren't too bad there. Let's grab this one here. We'll just keep the current selection. Now I've gone off the home view. And if we hadn't read all the instructions, we might be thinking, oh no, I've lost my walkthrough. No panic, we'll get back there in just a second. We're just looking at the image because that's what's highlighted in our file sidebar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold on that to rename it, because image asset isn't super descriptive. I want to make sure that I've given it a good description. So I'm going to call this one Sandy Cove. and hit return. And now that I've got the image in my project, I actually don't need this anymore. So I'm going to close this tab. So I'll hit the X there. Now, if you don't go back to the home view, that's where our walkthrough left us. So you're going to tap on that home view tab that should show up somewhere up here. So we've done our first few steps here. We've got one last step. Has everyone got their image added to their project? Give me a quick thumbs up if you have. Oh, thumbs down. Okay, that's fair. Samar, you have a question? And I know Boris had a question there about how do you do this on a Mac, and Suzanne is walking you through the instructions for that. All right. Now, we also noticed that with my file sidebar open, I've lost my app preview. As Suzanne pointed out earlier, we can just tap on this, the sort of receding rectangles, and we'll get our app preview back. And our last step in customizing the home tab, this first page anyway, is to replace the name placeholder in quotes with the name of your photo. So we just renamed it. I've renamed it to Sandy Cove. Maybe you've renamed it after your city. You can have spaces in your name. You can have capital letters or all lowercase. But the case and the spacing is going to matter, especially when we replace this value here, this placeholder value. Because this is telling Swift to draw an image on the screen. So we're going to select that. And I'm going to type in Sandy Cove. Just like I did over in the sidebar. And if I hide my keyboard over here, I can see that already I've personalized this app. So it's a little bit more personal to me. That's not a great image, not super great quality. But we can worry about that later. That's right, Alberto. So when you're giving your name, when you're typing your name in there, it is case sensitive. So make sure that you've put in the right case. For example, if I had just said Sandy Cove with a lowercase s, my view would look very different because it's not able to find that image. So I'm going to change it back. All right, quick thumbs up. Who's got their image showing up of their city?
There's one person, Jane, who had a question. I don't know if you've solved it.
How
And
to
I
get
see that Suzanne is on him as well. Yeah.
Great. Perfect. All right, we're going to move on to the next step now that we've got our image, and make it a little bit nicer. I mean, this is cool. We've got a kind of rectangular image in our app right now. That's not too bad. It's something personal to us. But now we're going to add a bit of visual flair. So we're going to add a few modifications to our image. So what we can do here is we can scroll through this list here. We're going to copy some of this code and add it where the blue line is highlighting. This is what I meant earlier when Swift is kind of guiding us through the code in the app, is they're focusing on us on different lines and explaining to us that we can add code in those spots. So I'm going to copy the clip shape circle and I'm going to paste it here. And almost instantly I get my updated preview on the side. So I've clipped that image into the shape of a circle. So instead of that kind of boxy looking old school rectangle, now we've got a really cool modern looking circle around our Sandy Cove picture. And they give us a tip here that we can play around with different modifiers and see what types of shapes we can come up with. If we scroll through here, we have one that gives us a rounded rectangle with a corner radius, and we give it a number in there. We have a clip shape with an ellipse. We have a capsule. And it gives us the advice that we can play around with these by adding them down here in this blue area. But before we add them, we want to comment out. So we want to hide for a little bit the first bit of code that we pasted in. So I'm actually going to go to the front of my dot here on clip shape. And I can either grab the C on my keyboard and drag down to add 2 of these slashes, or I can hit the number keypad and find the slash that looks like this. And you'll note that my preview has changed. So it's gone from the circle back to the kind of boring old rectangle. So if I tap up here on the walkthrough, it'll highlight that again, especially when I have the keyboard coming up on the screen. There's not a lot of space, so it tries to optimize the space that it's using for the things that you're focused on. So I like the idea of this rounded rectangle. I'm actually going to copy this one and paste this one in below the line that I pasted in earlier. So now I get a nice kind of softer edge rectangle. That looks a little bit better. I can change this number if I want to experiment. Drag down a 2 and a 5 to get 25 corner radius. That looks pretty good. I'm going to give you a few seconds to try that out yourself. Grab one of these other shapes, whether it's an ellipse or a capsule, or maybe you really like the circle. And you're going to paste it into the line below and get the shape that you want wrapped around your image. Give me a quick thumbs down if you're still stuck, if you don't have a clip shape around your image, or you don't have the image in your project yet. Okay, and if there's any help that we can give you, make sure to drop a line in the chat. All right, and start giving thumbs up if you're good to go. If you've got your clip shape in there, it's looking pretty cool. Okay, we ready to move on to the next one? We'll pop into the next. So now what we're going to do is add an additional layer of customization. And in this step in the customizing the home tab, we're going to add an overlay. So it's going to be the same shape as our photo. It's going to look like we've added a border around our photo. So just like before, we can copy this and we're going to add it below that clip shape line that we just pasted in. So we're going to paste it down here. Okay, and I've run into my first minor problem, totally fixable with the walkthrough. So I changed my clip shape to a rounded rectangle with that nice quarter radius of 25 that I really like, because it kind of looks like a Swift Playgrounds app icon. But the overlay that I pasted in is a circle. So if we have a look at the code that we've just added, we've added these 2 lines here. This is our first clip shape, our rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 25. You can see how when you take a look at this code and you read it out loud, it kind of makes sense. And then for our overlay, we have a circle. And before, remember, we had our clip shape of a circle. And then we have this dot stroke line with dot yellow and a style with a certain line width. Well, if I'm going to change my clip shape so that this border matches or if I'm going to change my overlay, to match the clip shape, I probably need to change my circle to a rounded rectangle. So I'm going to go and do that now. So if you've changed yours to an ellipse or anything other than a circle, you may see the same issue. You may see a circle kind of overlaying your really cool looking image, but just the wrong shape. So I'm going to start typing here. Rounded rectangle. This is Swift Playgrounds showing off that it is a full, almost professional development environment. Because I've got rounded rectangle there, I can actually just hit the return key to auto-complete that for me. And then if I look up above, I used parentheses there. So I'm going to go grab one of those from above the J. So I'm going to drag down and over there. And Swift Playgrounds is helping me out again by offering to autocomplete that corner radius that I have up above. So I'll hit return, and now I'm just going to give it a number. I'm going to give it the same number that I had up above, so 25. Oh, way better. Now, in this part of the walkthrough, it also says that we can change some of these properties, like the color or the line width. So maybe I don't like the yellow. Maybe this is Sandy Cove is in Ireland. We should probably stick with green as our preferred border color. So I'm going to go delete this yellow. And in fact, to help myself out, I'm going to delete the dot as well. Because when I tap the dot again, it gives me a lot of options of different colors, including gradients. So I want to go down, I could start typing green and it would narrow down the list for me. So I'm going to start typing G. And I get left with the two options that have a G in them. So gray and green. We'll pick green and hit return. And my border changes from yellow to green. We also might look at that border and say, oh man, that's really, it's kind of in your face. It's a bit large. So we can change that by tapping on line width. Then changing this number. I might decide it needs to be a little bit thinner. There we go. That's looking a bit better. All right, quick thumbs up if you've got your fancy looking border around the right shape of image you have. Okay, we've got a lot of thumbs up.
Down in
Couple
there
thumbs
as well.
down. Yeah, saw that.
Just give you a minute to fiddle with it.
Yeah.
And so much of this, I hope you'll see, is kind of reading code as well. Because the autocomplete does a lot for you, but if you aren't able to read what the autocomplete does, you aren't able to actually work with it. And hopefully that's what you're getting a sense of now as well. That if you can read the code, it's actually pretty easy to manipulate it and change the color, change the line width.
Yeah, and it's a great tool because we get kind of instant feedback when we add something. This is such a great tip, adding these comments in there where we hide this code and we say, oh, we're not going to apply that one. It's not going to clip it to a circle. We're going to clip it to a rounded rectangle instead. This is a great way to experiment in Swift Playgrounds with the look and feel of your app. All right.
Is there an undo button, Penny asks?
That is a great question. Well, you can't make any mistakes. Sorry. Yes, there is an undo button. And actually, there's a little trick to it, especially if you're not using an external keyboard like myself. So when I tap in the code area, the undo button comes up at the top of the keyboard. So I can hit that to undo. Now, you'll note that if you're the type of person who just mashes undo, like I may be known to do sometimes, just be aware that when I hit undo, it's now selected a bit of text. So the undo arrow has been replaced with scissors. So if you need to undo multiple times, you can do that. You just have to make sure you deselect the thing that was selected, and then you have access to the undo button again.
Sometimes students have messed up the code so much that they really don't find a way back anymore. And then, what I usually tell them is to just start a fresh copy, see if they can copy and paste from where they still know this is good, and then start over again. Hopefully not all the way over. But yeah, that's always a good way. And students will run into this sometimes where they just don't know anymore what they've done wrong and how to fix it. And then starting a fresh copy, or maybe just comparing both of them side by side, their own one that went wrong and a fresh copy kind of will give them a clue. 9 out of 10 times, though, if you get an error, if you get one of those red bugs, it's because you are missing a parentheses or an ellipse, and you've opened a bracket and you haven't closed it. Yeah, that's a skill that you as a teacher will learn very quickly. Now, when I look at somebody's code, I can kind of see immediately, okay, something is missing there. You need a little bracket there. When I first started doing this, I was just as confused as they were, but you'll get an eye for it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it's only students that make those mistakes, right? It's never teachers or professional
No.
developers never make mistakes that are beyond repair, that where you have to just download a fresh copy. Okay, cool. Quick thumbs up. How's everybody doing? Now, this is a walkthrough that you can go through on your own as well. So if you are racing ahead and you're like, oh, no, I've had it for about 10 minutes. Come on, let's hurry up. You can go and hit that next button and go through the next few steps. But give me a quick thumbs up if you've got your clip shape, you've got your border. Okay, lots of thumbs
Everybody's
up.
looking good now.
That's good.
Okay, good.
Good. All right, we'll move on then to the next step. Okay, now this is again part of that reading skill. We've just highlighted here, or Swift Playgrounds has highlighted for us, the your name part. So instead of being all about your name, this is where you're going to customize it for your city. So I'm up here in Sandy Cove, so I'm going to say Sandy Cove. And I get it updated again almost immediately over in the preview there. So go on and update your name to the city that you're in. And this is kind of a fun exercise to go through in the code, is to try to find what's being displayed, try to find that all about text and where that's showing up, where the image is coming from. All right, and a quick thumbs up when you get your city name in there. Lots of thumbs up. Oh, now we're flying along.
Good.
Good stuff. All right, so we'll go on to the next. Now, the next few offer things like changing the style of the font. We won't go into these ones. We'll kind of go on to the end. These are great ones to go through in your own time, but you can change different font styles. You'll use some of the techniques that we've shown you with changing the color and changing the corner radius and changing the line width of our the border around our image. It'll even teach you how to use custom fonts and do things like add different colors to the fonts, maybe a shadow behind the font as well. And lots of other things that we can add to this home screen. But the one last thing that we're going to do here when we're customizing the home tab is we're going to add a background to all of this, because this is very nice and stark white, but we want to add a little bit of color to our background. So it's highlighted the area in the code editor where I'm going to drop this new line. I'm going to copy it from up here, this background image blue. I'm going to hit copy, and I'm going to paste it down here. And again, pretty quickly, I'm going to get it updated over in the preview. So I've got a blue background. Now, this blue is a little bit different than the yellow we used, or the green that we wound up using for our border around our image. It's actually using an image. So if we go up to the sidebar here and we look at our assets, we'll see that we have an asset here called blue. So that's what's being drawn as our background. We could also use green or orange or purple or red. So what I want you to do is go and pick one of those now. Now I've added quite a few files to my tabs. I can either close them all, or I can scroll through my tabs and find the home view and tap on that to bring it back. And I'm going to tap on the app preview to bring that back as well. So let's see. Let's try out one of the other ones. We'll try a purple for mine. I want you to go and pick a color of your own that'll work a little bit better than my eye-searing purple and green. So now we've really made this screen ours. All right, quick thumbs up if you've managed to change your background color, or if you've got any issues still, drop a note in the chat.
No thumbs down.
No thumbs
Okay, so
down.
that's good.
Now, who's been clever and tried to use one of the other non-color named image assets? Who's tried to make blue their background? I know there's at least one of you.
And then blue as in the character.
Blue as in the character, yep.
BLU,
This
yeah.
blue, yep.
If you've done any of the other Swift stuff before, then you'll know who this guy is. If this is your first time in Swift Blade One, saying like, who's Hopper, who's Blue, don't worry about them.
They have a little cult following, for sure. Excellent. So we've customized our home tab. So now if we go back to our original content view, this is the file that we started in. We tap on that tab. We'll get a preview of our whole app. So we can see that we have our home view as well as our tab bar at the bottom. And so we've updated our home view. It's that would be it. If we ran this app right now, this is what our home view would look like. This purple and green monstrosity saying this app is going to be all about Sandy Cove. You can see I don't work for the tourism board. All right. So we seem to be all in pretty good shape. Are you ready to use those facts you thought about? All right. So we're going to go up to the libraries and we're going to go through the walkthrough a bit more. Yep, there are some questions about you could use dot background as well. You could. Yep, this walkthrough goes through using images, but you could definitely use dot background with colors.
Yep. You'll run into something though when you do that, because it doesn't fill up the whole view. To fix that, we might bump into a solution afterwards, but yeah, that's a good reason to stick to images for now, but definitely give it a go.
Yeah. And in fact, so what we'll do is we'll go back to, everybody should have tapped on the library icon here and gone way down to the bottom. Sorry, I'm scrolling around a bit too crazy. We're going to go to the fun facts tab because we've gathered some fun facts about our city or town. And we're going to tap on make it yours. So again, this is another walkthrough. Now, you don't have to add fun and funny. If you want to be serious, you can be serious. You don't have to follow the instructions exactly. But you can see here, we've highlighted this all fun facts. Now, even if we don't know anything about coding, we can see that if we tap this button, it'll grab a random fact and we can kind of match them up to the ones over here. There are 12,600 people in my town. Now, these are not facts that I added. These are facts that are built in. There's a creek that runs through the town. And there's a farmer's market every Wednesday in the summer. So what I want you to do is we're going to add our own facts in here. So I'll add a few facts about Sandy Cove, and the folks down in Loretto Docky can correct me if I get any of these wrong. All right, so first one here that I'm going to add, and you should be adding your own, so I'll try to keep it down, is James Joyce's Ulysses opens in Sandy Cove. Now, One thing while you're working through those facts that Suzanne noted before is that the most common mistake you're going to see is someone deletes something important. It could be something as small as a comma, it could be a quotation mark, it could be a bracket. That's pretty likely going to happen in this area. So these commas in between our text is important. And so our text is all enclosed in these double quotes. And then it's followed by a comma for every item. So you could actually add more items than just 3 if you have a ton of fun facts about your area. You would just add a comma at the end, and then a string is what we call that text inside quotation marks. I'll just add a couple more here.
How deep is it then? Why is it like that?
It is definitely not 40 feet, as I've certainly touched the bottom. And the 40-foot regiment used to be posted nearby. That's why it's called the 40-foot.
Ah.
All right, quick thumbs up. How are your fun facts going? Oh, looking good.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. Well, now that I've added my 3, if I hit that show random fact button, we're getting some odd behavior here. That might need me to go up to the preview. Again, I'll tap on preview and restart the preview. Still getting some odd behavior there.
Just a dot.
Just a dot. Another thing I tend to do when I need to sort of tickle everything in Swift Playgrounds is I'll hit the play button, which will actually build and launch the app as an actual app on my iPad. Sometimes compilers get tired too. Compilers are people. And so I may find myself in exactly the same situation that we saw earlier, where I might need to actually just quit and restart Playgrounds. So I'll just double click my home button, swipe up, and then I'll open it again. I have it over here in my dock. I'm going to open up my latest About Me. I can see that when I reopen it that I do still have my fun facts, my original ones that I wrote. We'll give the preview a little while. Now, let's have a thumbs up from anybody who added additional facts about their city. Oh, nice. Ambitious. I like it.
More than 3 facts.
All right. Okay, cool. We're going to just try to get that preview going for us. There we go. Much better. So I'm going to hit next and move on. Now this is going to show us a different way of adding the background. So we have a thing called a Z stack and a V stack here. And it's telling us that we're going to add an image, green, between this Z stack and V stack line. So there's no copy option here. So we're actually going to have to go type it ourselves. So I'm going to tap at the end of this brace here of the Z stack, or Z stack, I guess, if you're from somewhere else. And we're going to call it image. So I'm going to start typing image. Now, quite a few things come up in my autocomplete. Some of them a bit scary looking, but image is the one we want. So we're just going to go tap on that one and hit return. And we're going to grab the parentheses from here. It's above the J on my keyboard. So drag down and add the J. I can autocomplete with this one because I'm just going to add a name for my string, or a string for my name rather. And to get those double quotes, mine is above the L, so I'm going to drag down. And Swift Playgrounds very handily knows that I need to put 2 in there to enclose the name of my image. So add 2 for me. I'm going to use a green background. So green, remember that it's case sensitive. So I have a minor issue now though. That my text kind of spills over the bounds of my screen, which isn't great because I'm only getting some of the fun fact. And it's far less fun if I can't see the whole fact. So what we want to do, whoops, rather than hitting that, we want to go down here. So if your fun fact is spilling over the edges and you're very upset, as I'm sure you probably are, we're going to go down here to the frame because that's saying how large, what type of rectangle we're going to fill here. And we're going to change this max width from 400 to 300. So I'm going to tap on the 400. I'm going to drag down and make it 300. We're back on the screen again. We're back within the bounds of that rectangle from my app preview. So when I hit show random fact, all of them are appearing inside my app preview. So way better. All right, so quick thumbs up if you've got your facts showing up, you've got a background on there. Again, just like with the other backgrounds, you can add different types of images. Quite a few thumbs up. It's very cool. Finn lives just down the street, I'm sure. I'm waving out the window. I'm sure you can see that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw from a poll that quite a lot of you had done some coding before, so you're actually all doing pretty good.
Yeah, this is great because if we go back to content view and we have a look at our app in the app preview, now when we go and tap on fun facts, that's the page that we were working on, and we hit show random fact, you've now built the brains of your fun facts tab, as well as the brains for your home tab. That's a huge step for today. So what we'd love you to do, if you did manage to build your app, is we would love you to share that because I'm really keen to see what people have done. If you want to post your app's images, take a screenshot. You can take a screenshot inside Swift Playgrounds, share it with the hashtag Code Week and celebrating you. We'd love to see some of the images and the apps that people have created. Twitter would work well, yeah. Anywhere you can put a hashtag, we'll surely find it.
And if anybody is feeling brave, we would love for you to take over the screen and share it here as well. Share with us what you've created. Is there anyone so brave? Then feel free to put a thumbs up or raise your hand. Oh, you're all very shy now.
A Windows machine, what is that?
Boris, you can just share on WebEx. Do you need to give them presenter rights, Matt? Is that how it works?
No, they should be able to
You
to
should
grab it.
have
Joanna
a little
or Joanna
share
put her
button.
hand up.
All right.
Yeah, I can try.
Awesome.
Let me share my, here. So you should see it now.
Nice. Hanover, cool. Yeah.
And let's start maybe here. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Very
Oh,
cool.
you've also changed the font. That looks good. I like how the font matches. Is it a castle or what is it?
Yeah, it is our, okay, I don't know the English word, our Rathaus. Maybe one of my colleagues can help.
Municipality.
City Hall?
Yeah, municipality. That
Yep.
is. And yeah, we have some fun facts here. First
Elvis
one.
Key also reigned in Great Britain. Okay. Did
Yeah.
not know that.
So,
Great.
This one I also put it in the chat.
Parks twice. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really big.
Yeah.
Quite a green city. And I had, yeah, the last
The
one.
world's oldest flea market. Nice. Well, that's good. I've never been to Hanover. Now I have a reason to go.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Thank you for sharing, Johanna.
You're welcome.
Chris is still fiddling with his. I'll send you the answer to that in the chat. Wow. Maybe we have one more presenter. Is anyone else willing to share?
Nico? Yeah, take it away.
Sure, I'll try. Give me a second. Because I'm working on my iPad, but I will try to share it on the MacBook, and therefore, can you see it already? Probably no. Or?
Not yet.
Not yet. Ah, damn it. Yeah, I also hope the Wi-Fi will work fine here in the environment, but now you should be able to see yourself, I assume, or at least my desktop.
We can see your desktop. Yep.
Oh, at least that's something. So it's loading, it's loading, it's loading. Yeah, perfect. Now you should see it, I hope.
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm living in Halle, which is in the middle of Germany. There you
Nice.
can see the city center. And just right down here for the fun facts, I wrote down the three. You will find the oldest chocolate factory here, which is, I think, around 300 years old. The trams, as I already mentioned in the chat, are sometimes from 1882. So they try to keep the really old ones in the system as well. And the biggest tower here, the Red Tower, has sounds from London because famous musician Handel, who was living in London for most of his life, was born here originally. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, very cool.
Right. Excellent. Thanks so much. So great to see what you guys were able to do in just less than an hour that we were working on this. And hopefully you are getting some ideas of how you would be able to do this with your students as well. And what I really love about these templates is that you learn some coding, but you don't need to learn everything. The tabs are already there, so you can split your content into different categories. There's interactivity already there. You learned quite some complex stuff. If you really want to go into the code about add states and buttons and optionals and all of those things, but you don't have to. Your students will get a great success experience by just changing some of it and learning to read the code, and they'll have made an app. Hopefully you felt really great when you saw, oh wow, my facts or my image is actually showing up in an app that I can possibly even publish to the App Store. So we were taking you by the hand in this session. Hopefully, you'll want to do this with your students as well. And then we have some materials there for you so that you don't feel lost without us there in the classroom with you. So the Celebrating You Educator Guide helps you do this in your classroom and gives you some great extension activities. So in Dutch, it is over jou. And it's available in 9 different languages. Hopefully your language is in there. And so if you scan the QR code, then you can get it. I will also put the link in the chat right now. Chat. There we go. You can get the Celebrating You guide right there. And I would just take a minute or two to kind of walk you through it so that you know what it is and what it can help you with. So if you open that up, you'll get to this page. And this is on the Apple Education Community, the Learning Center. This is where teachers can get lots of inspiration and materials and how-tos, how to use just their iPad, how to use other apps like Keynote, and also Swift Playgrounds. Okay, so the curriculum is called Everyone Can Code, so it has some explanations about that. Again, a link to the guide or to the apps. And then here you can download the Celebrating You Educator Guide. So if you tap on that, downloading Celebrating You Guide, it will download a PDF. And again, this is there for you so that you don't feel lost as a teacher, so that even if you're not that very technical, you feel comfortable teaching coding as well. Now, we've shown you how you can do this about a city. The idea here is that students do it about traditions that they have in their culture. So here it's my tradition, birthday celebrations, or maybe if you're in Poland, you might actually want to do name celebrations, or that's a good way to look at different traditions. What are you actually celebrating in each country? Then there's a quick reference for Swift Playground. So this is great to show your students when you're just starting out. We kind of try to walk you through it so that the app didn't feel too overwhelming for you. If at any point you get lost, you can have a look here. So this text is the walkthrough. Yeah, preview the guides. This should all kind of make sense to you now. And then there are the extension materials. So you can discuss, brainstorm content, just like we did, tinker with it, see what students can change, what bugs will they run into, what ways can they break the app, and then hopefully they can build it up again, where they explore the code and they actually go through the walkthrough, just like you guys have done now. Then they can personalize the code. So this is what we did as well. We customize the home tab, we customize, we didn't do the favorites, you can do that tonight if you feel so inclined. And then there are expansions activities as well. So we just looked at the tabs that are already in there, but how can you actually add your own tab? This will go into that. Or how can you create a tab that has lots of photos? How can you create a photo gallery that maybe has images of your family members that helped made you who you are? And then there's also an expansion, the Celebrating Us app, where students work in a group, and the suggested hours here are 3 to 5 hours. You can kind of adapt it as you like, as you normally do as a teacher. So this is just very much for you as a teacher to help you get inspiration and see how you might be able to use it in your classroom. And so this is, we've shown you now how you can let your students create something about themselves, something about their traditions, their family, and about the city. Our next question to you, though, is how might you use this in your classroom if you are teaching science, for example, or if you are teaching English? What uses do you see for something like this in your classroom? Or even if you're actually an ICT teacher and you want to do some more Swift coding in your classroom. Please have a little brainstorm in the chat. So for, oh, Alicia, there she already is. Definitely in English, different cities where English is spoken. Yep, that's a very, very good one. So do something about London, about Sydney. Yep. That's really great. Have different images of different cities. Let students do some research about the cities. Make them write a story about it. Recipes, also a good one. Yep. I had one student this year who wanted to create a recipe book of all of his granddad's food because he loved his cooking so much. And so he actually wrote down with his granddad all of the recipes, took photos of the dishes that his grandfather made, and used the About Me template to create a little recipe book. Types of errors in coding, yeah. So you can let them make the errors and then document them as well. That's a great question for ICT class. Yep. Celebrities or influencers, social media, yeah, it's a digital literacy. Owen, great. Your students here have some ideas. That's great. They want to make an About Me app about the Romans as they're learning about these at the moment in history. That's great. Yeah. Nice.
Begrüßung unter Freunden. Jan freut sich, wenn Andreas ihn mit der Stirn berührt. Der Kopf.
Somebody's turned the TV on in the meantime. Egyptians as well, yeah.
Yeah, loads of applications for this project.
So many, and hopefully creating an app in the future will be just as obvious assessment activity as creating a PowerPoint presentation or as writing a report. Yeah, what I would love to see is that all of the students just learn these basic skills so that they have the skills available to them in other classes so that they can present. It's just another way of presenting the materials that they've learned, and with some interactivity, with maybe some data gathering. That's how I envision this, but that's a whole other conversation, and we only have 3 minutes left or so. Oh, that's a great one as well, Owen. One of our international students would like to create an app about our school for anyone else visiting the school. Matt, I know you've been doing some of that for new Ukrainian kids in your city, right?
We did that, right? So some volleyball players, we had a little translation app to kind of help them get settled into our volleyball club down here in Dalkey. Yep. Very cool.
All right. If you want to learn some more coding skills, and you live in a country with an Apple Store, know that there are lots of getting started with Swift Playground sessions that you can actually go and participate in for free in your country, in your city. And we were doing this virtual now, but I know these sessions are so much more effective if I could have just hovered over your shoulder and could have seen what you were working on and could have just pointed at the little errors that you were making. Of course, you didn't make any, but if I just could have given you some hints. So if you want to learn more, know that there's lots of people out there who can help you in a Today at Apple session, for example. So scan the QR code there if that's something you would like to do. I saw one yesterday in Amsterdam, and it was absolutely brilliant. They really know their stuff, and yeah, it's a great way to get started with coding, and you always learn something new.
Yeah, and if you're in
So
Ireland,
thank you so much for joining.
If you're in Ireland and we don't
Yep.
have an Apple
Go
store,
ahead,
bring your iPad down to the 40-foot and we'll do some coding down there.
Matt. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you. It was really, really inspiring. And thank you also for your patience. And check out the Twitter as well. There might also be some apps shared by the participants. I would also like to ask everyone to share their apps on Twitter with the hashtag Code Week and Celebrating You. And also many, many thanks to all the participants for such amazing ideas in the chat. The chat is really bursting with ideas. Thank you so much. The recording will be sent to you by email. And once again, many thanks for joining us tonight and celebrating Code Week and coding. Thank you, Suzanne and Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was brilliant.
Thank you, Veronique.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.